Hi, everybody. Good to see you. See, look, wrong way. I'm mirrored. The shirts are in. If you guys ordered your shirts, they're all here on the table. Please do come and pick them up. Happy day. Happy Wednesday. This is the first Wednesday after spring break. I really hope that you were able to take time to do the things that bring you joy. This we have like 6 weeks, a little bit more than 6 weeks to go, and I sure hope that this the break was able to give you a little bit of that necessary juice to get you through the next 6 weeks. It has been, without a doubt, the hardest year any of us have ever been through, and I just want to say I I can't I cannot imagine how hard it's been for you. If you're delivering your service or trying to teach in ways you never thought, never imagined you would have to, I just can't imagine. So I appreciate all that you've done to keep your students engaged, to keep yourself from just being so drained at the end of every day that you don't know how you're going to get up the next morning to continue this work. And it does take the utmost determination for you guys to do that every day, because weekends are no different from the weekdays, it seems. So thank you so very much for continuing to do this. And we can hope that 22 is going to be better. At least I hope. There have been some questions about, when are we going to, allow the campus to be open to the public again? When are we going to be able to come back to work if we want to? Or if we don't want to, what are the guidelines? And we asked that question on Monday of Erica folks, and there is no definite answer, but it appears that there is movement. So maybe we'll hear soon about some changes that might allow us to open our doors more widely than we have been in the last year. I think I'm going to take a look at the agenda. And I know that Roman, you have an update for us on commencement before we get anywhere else?
Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone. Roman Sabachi here, one of the co-chairs for commencement. So, big update. We are going to do two forms of commencement. We're leaning towards calling it more of a celebration. So we are going to do a walkthrough commencement celebration, which will be on Friday, May 14th. The time is still pending, but the time we're leaning towards is 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. and it will be on campus. And so that will be our walkthrough commencement celebration. Just a few details because there's a lot of logistics to it, but grads would sign up, they would register, and then they are allowed to have two guests come with them on campus. And of course, with this whole thing, everything will be social distance, mask required, there's a check-in process, and the plan is to have a stage that the student can walk across, hear their and we are planning to do this where students will be given a time slot to come, and it'll be according to their program or their degree grouping. So that's kind of what that looks like. This one will require a lot of volunteers and a lot of help. So we hope that a lot of you can take some time, whether it's 2 hours of that time period, to help us with it. And I'll put a sign up form in the chat, and from there we will reach out to you to see what roles we have, because there'll be a lot of moving parts to it. The second part is that we are going to do a virtual celebration as well. So on Sunday, May 16th, around 5 to 7 is the time that we're thinking we will stream a virtual celebration program. So it's going to have everything from Oli to names being read and things like that as well. And all of that will actually be pre-recorded already. So none of it will be live. It will just be streamed on that day. And from there, we'll encourage groups, to have watch parties for programs, to have watch parties if they're participating in that. At this time, students are only allowed to participate in one. So they could either participate in the walkthrough commencement celebration, or they could participate in the virtual celebration. The reason we do that is because of just capacity purposes of our staff and our team and our campus. And then also making sure that people get to graduate at least once instead of trying to go twice. Let me see if there's anything else that I forgot. Does anyone, let's see, any questions? Can you repeat the date and time of the in-person? The in-person walkthrough one will be Friday, May 14th. It's technically the last day of finals from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'll put the form in here. It'll show different times because we will need help beforehand with a lot of setup, and then of course the cleanup, which is everyone's favorite part of the day after events. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question, Roman.
Yes,
If
please.
if I'm a faculty member in a particular program, and so my time slot for my program is, let's just pick a 2 to 2:30. That's going to be my program. And I'm a faculty member. Is there going to be an opportunity for me to be a participant somehow and honor my grads in my program?
Yes, so good question, Louise. What we were thinking about is that if you are a faculty member to a specific program, when that program slot comes up, we are going to reach out to you all as well to encourage you to be there, whether it's around the staging area or doing the tassel turn of groups of students. We think it's really important that, especially with certain programs, especially a lot of the health programs who are really close to their students and see each other all the time, that it's important that you all are there. And we believe that it'll be more meaningful if you all are there as well. Any questions about regalia and attire? So we are encouraging students to wear their regalia, but it is not required. So if someone asks, oh, is it mandatory? Do I have to buy it? No, they do not. So we just encourage them to wear whatever best represents yourself and who you are and your public image.
That's very polite. That
Any
that
other?
will allow for all kinds of different outfits, including halter tops, I think. But I can imagine that some of us might be there from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock in regalia, I'm thinking.
Thanks, Louise.
I wanna make sure that there's a shade. If I'm okay, just saying.
For the staging, the stage will be right on the edge of the plan is it'll be on the edge of the great lawn with llama in the back and closer to the ulima side. So it'll be in the shaded part where all the trees are at.
Good, thank you. Other questions from folks?
If you have any questions, any more questions, feel free to contact me, or you can email us at capcom@hawaii.edu, and I'll put it all in the chat.
Thank you, Roman. Okay, let me update you a little bit on, there's been different names, CARES, Carissa, and now there's ARPA, but they're all kind of being relabeled as HEERF, which stands for Higher Ed Educational Relief Fund or something similar. And President Lassner calls it HEERF, but we're all calling it HERF. I don't know why. It's different dialects on different campuses, I suspect. So we have HERF 1, HERF 2, and HERF 3. I don't now feel confident in giving you all of the information because we don't have all of the information yet. There is no official word on what HERF 3 tranches 1 and 2 are yet. So each of the HERF categories has 3 different kinds of monies. And I'm going to be asking Brandon Marquiga, who's been tracking this, I'm going to be asking him to help me prepare a website that has all of this information so that you can find it easily one place. Once we have the definite amounts, because we still don't know definite, and we also don't have the final guidelines. So what is it that the money can be used for? So just today, there was updates on the funding that will go directly to students. So the direct aid to students, if you recall, when we were talking about this months ago, it was for those students who were Title IV eligible. Now, with this latest round of HERF funding, they have changed the rules on which kinds of students are eligible. So now continuing ed students are eligible, early college, dual enrollment, those students are also eligible. Resident aliens like me, if I were a student. So the most important thing is that the rules for this last wave of funding apply now retroactively to the other two. So whatever balances we still have in what was called CARES or HERF 1 or CARISA, that's HERF 2, whatever balances we have in those funds now follow the guidelines for this last wave, this HERF 3 funding. So it's, again, the rules change and we try to keep up with them. So when things settle a little bit and the amounts are finalized, I will work with Brandon to make sure that we have all of that information out to you guys. There have also been requests from our AGOs for some kind of participation in the process. So understand that it will be big chunks of money. But again, these chunks of money are not just here's a couple of $1 million, go ahead and knock yourself out. This is a grant from the federal government which has rules and regs about how you can spend it, on what you can spend it, and for how long can you spend it. So we're going to be asking for suggestions for projects that are capacity building, things that we can spend money on now because we have it, that will carry us into the future. So, positions that you want to maintain for the next 20 years are not the kinds of things that we can use this funding for, because the funding will have an end date. And once it's gone, it's gone. So I'll be working with the AGOs to get that process further developed. But again, we're not clear yet exactly on all the things that are going to be parameters on this funding. So let me stop and ask what you need more or better information on that I can supply right now. What questions do you have?
Louise?
Yay.
Yeah, sorry. I know I hate dead air too, so maybe that's why
That's why
I jump.
you're
And
compelled to speak.
yes, and besides, I'm a terrible typist, so it takes me forever. Sorry, I know we keep having this kind of conversation, but and whatever we're going to call it, but that second round where again a lot of us submitted requests that were on a Google form and it all went on a Google Doc. So
Mhm.
um, I know Brian has submitted some things to the deans. The deans have submitted some things to us, but it still seems a little confusing. What are we to do about the previous ones? Are we to then resubmit as part of this new round, or is
No.
it? I don't know what to do with what we've created in the past, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Whatever requests you created in previous versions of the funding, and whatever you've submitted that has been approved, you should go and spend and buy. So we're not going to halt everything and start over from zero. So those things that have been approved should be expended.
Okay. There were quite a few that we were again kind of being asked to submit some more information about.
Okay,
Okay.
then do that. If they're again, because we have to make sure that the expenditures align with the requirements of the grant. So if there are some additional information that's necessary to make that determination more clear, because it is federal money and you don't want to have issues come up when an audit is
Yeah.
launched. So
Yeah, no,
additional
and I
information.
understand all that. I think the last directive that I may have gotten, and I don't know, Lori's on board, maybe, she could clarify. We were kind of indicated to resubmit. So as opposed to answering the questions of what we already submitted, we were indicated to resubmit. So,
Okay, then you should perhaps, and I'm not privy to the conversations or the direction. So I would want to, if it was me, I would want clarity. So I would go back to whoever it was that asked and say, tell me what you want. And I just want the sausage out of the factory.
Mhm. So Louise,
Mm-hmm.
hi. So there were some in that Google sheet that were gray saying it's still pending. Is there a way that to not have people to resubmit? Because I think there were quite a few gray and it just said it's not no, but it's not yes. Is it possible that folks could just look at that and continue approving if they met um, the criteria of the new, I guess, HERF 3?
Yeah. I think the plan always was for the requesters not to worry about which
Okay,
perf it was.
thank you.
And yes, if it was a gray item that needed a little bit more explanation, I would want to follow up. And I cannot speak for
Okay.
Brian, and Brian's not in today.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I would follow up and say, this is still important to the department. Here's the new
Mhm.
additional information. Do you want it in a memo? Because I know
Okay,
we walked away from the Google sheet because we needed to have more information for audit purposes. And
okay,
it might be that he says, yeah, put it in a memo, please.
okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions related to that? Okay, we have another guest presentation. This, I think, yeah, Drew? Ready, Freddie? Okay, let me introduce you if you don't know. This is Drew Broderick. He's the COA Gallery Director. And you might want to think and say, COA Gallery, open receptions, exhibitions, people on the campus eating cheese and drinking wine with permission from the Chancellor. What happens to COA Gallery in a pandemic? So we thought you might want to know. So Drew, take it away.
Aloha kako. Chancellor and Dean Napoleon, thanks for the chance to share an update with the group today. I've been struggling through that question that you just asked, Louise, what happens to a gallery amid a pandemic, as I'm sure we all have with our respective departments for the past year. So I'm happy to be able to just share two recent projects with you folks today that have taken place, or one that has taken place and one that will take place. The first is a 5-week artist residency, which we shifted into a community space called Alpuni, because we could no longer host it on campus. And then the second one I'll touch on is a new year-long partnership with Ars Cafe, which is down the street on Montserrat. And that will begin in the first week of April and continue through to 2022. So from February 15th to March 22nd, 2021, COA Gallery hosted the New Red Order, a self-identified public secret society. What does that mean?
Public secret in the same sentence.
Public secret society. So we'll get into a little bit of what they're about in a second, but just to kind of catch you folks up, the core members, Jackson Paulus, Adam Khalil, and Zach Khalil, along with their families, were all in residence in Waikiki for about 5.5 weeks. While they were here, they repositioned their practice in relation to some of the contested histories the present day realities and sort of speculative futures of Kaupai'aina, Hawaii. And their residency departed from a series of pre-arrival questions. What is the role of a host? What's the role of a guest? As protocols shift across lands, seas, skies, territories, and nations, what are the implications for indigenous claims rooted in place-based systems of knowledge? How do we transpose different indigenous methodologies from one context to another? And what does such a transfer entail? And finally, maybe most importantly to me, is how might the works and efforts of different minority ethnic groups, in this case, Native Hawaiians, Alaska Natives, and American Indians, coexist and communicate with one another? Chancellor, is it okay if I share my screen? I'd like to just play a quick 2-minute video for you folks. It's sort of about the politics of apology. And while on island, NRO and artists and curators and community members here really delved into those questions. What does it mean to say that we're sorry? Is it coupled to action, or is it just an empty phrase? So I'll share a quick excerpt with all of you. Let's see. Can you folks see that? Never settle. Do you have audio?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and try resharing. Thanks for your patience. All right, let's try again. How about now? Okay.
Yep.
It's 2 minutes. Thanks for bearing with me.
The clerk. Government business, notice number 1, motion offering an apology to Australia's Indigenous peoples.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that today we honour the Indigenous peoples of this land, the oldest continuing cultures in human history.
To the iwi of Tuhoi, to the tipuna, the descendants, the hapu, and the whanau, the Crown makes the following long overdue apology.
我们要更往前踏出一步。我要代表政府，向全体原住民族致上我们最深的歉意。对于过去400年来各位承受的苦痛和不公平的待遇，我代表政府向各位道歉。
The Government of Canada sincerely apologizes and asks the forgiveness of the Aboriginal peoples of this country for failing them so profoundly.
As Prime Minister of Australia, I am sorry. On behalf of the Government of Australia, I am sorry. On behalf of the Parliament of Australia, I am sorry. And I offer you this apology without qualification.
So that's again, it's an excerpt from a much longer film called Never Settle. And so because the campus was closed and Koa Gallery, can't host opening receptions in the same way that it used to, we shifted all the programming into community. And these are just a couple images from some of the events that we had with NRO, with their collaborators, and with members of overlapping and diverging communities around the issues of kind of desire for indigeneity within westernized institutions. And again, it was really meaningful for me in the sense, and for those who had a chance to participate, in the sense that we haven't really had this kind of face-to-face dialogue in a while for obvious reasons. And it was a nice moment to kind of use art as a vehicle to discuss social justice issues. The next thing I want to talk about really quickly is a new year-long community partnership with, again, a coffee shop down the street. It's called Artist Cafe. And this partnership is really about celebrating the kind of mutually interdependent relationship of teaching and learning. So for the next year, beginning in April, one teacher and one student from Kapi'olani Community College will show their work together within the space of the cafe's gallery. And hopefully in doing so, sort of demonstrate the ways in which arts education is vital to the health and well-being of society. The participating artists, teachers and students from Kapi'olani CC include Carl Jennings, Eduardo Joaquin, Russell Tsunabe, Calvin Collins, Chloe Kang, Yumiko Glover, Carol Sakihara, Jay Stableford, Kapolani Landgraf, and Shirley Lam. And I really look forward to when the gallery reopens and to when the campus reopens to the multiple publics of Hawaii. But in the meantime, I feel like collaborating with venues and organizations off campus is one way for all of us to continue to participate in and support the communities of this place. So I'll stop there. I'm happy to answer any questions from the group if you folks have any. Mahalo again for your time and for your attention.
Thanks, Drew. Will you be letting the campus know about the exhibits at the Arts Cafe just down the street, like, regularly, so that, when is, like, is Carl Jennings the first one?
Yeah, Carl and Eddie are the first two, and their exhibition will run from April 4th to May till the beginning of May.
Okay. If you could put that somewhere where we would see it, like maybe a couple of times, the beginning, in the middle, so that we go down, drive in line box and go and check out the artwork by our teachers and learners. That'd be great. Questions from the folks on the call? Anyone? Okay. Right. Thank you. Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Chancellor.
Okay, we have Noel who would like to speak.
So real quick, I guess this is one of many reminders that everybody will be getting throughout the next week. Registration for the fall semester is coming up really fast. It's going to be April 5th. The one deadline that is coming up sooner is going to be Monday, March 29th. And basically that is the last day for students to drop a course with a W online. Right. So basically, I think for students, if they are not doing so well, and it's highly unlikely that they will pass the class, usually we try to get them to drop with a W so it doesn't hurt their GPA. There's a lot of other negative impacts that may happen, including issues with their financial aid, scholarships, VA benefits, and whatnot. So we recommend that they speak to a counselor. To get this message across, because I know it's a lot of information, I will be sharing an email with Maria that she'll forward to the instructional faculty. But in the email, there's going to be information on the dates of when students can drop in STAR. It also will be coming with I think it's a 6-minute video done by some counselors about why they should withdraw, what things they should consider, and who to talk to. That way, if you just play that message for your students or email it, they should get a better idea. The other thing, and this one is just for instructors, the date for students to drop a course online is March 29th. However, if you are working with students and maybe they have some exams coming up or tests, or maybe they can't quite make a decision, or maybe they just completely forgot. If you as an instructor would like to grant your student a W after the 29th, we will allow those changes to be made and requested up until the Thursday of next week, because next Friday is a holiday. So basically instructionals, faculty, you have up until that Thursday to submit a request in support of your students to change their grade to a W. This will be sent through capinfo at hawaii.edu, and this will also be in the email that will be shared with you again. So again, Monday is going to be the last day to drop with a W. Students can do this on their own. If you are working with students who either forgot or you want to support them in granting them a W, please email capinfo, and then more details will be shared in the email. Later on next week, I'll get into more details about registration week and the whole campaign that we're going to try and do and how everybody fits in place. It'll include basically trying to give information to students about registration dates, as well as how to talk to them. Instructors will also be getting what we call a registration packet, complete with a PDF of the dates of registration, also email templates if you do want to communicate to students on why they should register early, as well as a little bit longer, I think it's an 8 or 10-minute video done by the counselors on the benefits of registering early and all the steps associated with that. So we'll be sharing that with the instructors next week because it's not done yet. And that way you guys can have that as a resource to either put into Laulima, play it during your class Zoom sessions, or email it to students. And that one, I should be able to talk about it more in detail next week.
Okay, let's make sure we put that on the agenda so people can look and make a point of being here. And Sean just put something in the chat about international students as well.
Yeah, so I think, Sean, the video addresses the international students as well as the financial aid for students who are full-time, as well as the students who are under the VA benefits, because it gets really complicated with any of those. So we do make sure that they're referred to the proper resource before making any kind of decisions like that.
Thank you. Other questions for Noel?
Noel, this is Lori. Thank you for that information. So just to confirm that March 29th, students can do it by themselves to get a W via STAR, and then a faculty member can email CAPCC directly anytime prior to April 1 if a student misses that deadline in STAR.
Yeah, so
okay.
Students have until March 29th, 11:59 p.m. Faculty, you could then start to make a request on students' behalf Tuesday through that Thursday.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
The email address is capinfo though, Lori, not CAPCC, capinfo.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
And I'll put some stuff in the chat box. Don't worry about getting it right now because we're going to send out an email again.
Cool, you type fast.
I cheated and had it on a Word document because I would forget.
Other questions for Noel? Okay, hearing none. Something that was shared with me about maybe 40 minutes ago as an idea. So you're hearing it just after we heard it. So the deans and the academic affairs people and Noel and Carol had a meeting without me, and that's okay. I don't mind. And they said, 75 years is kind of a big deal. So let's do a time capsule. So you're hearing it just after I heard it, and it's like, oh, that might be fun. So for now, it's just an idea. We'll put more meat on those bones, but I don't know if anybody on this call was part of the last time we did a time capsule. We buried it in front of Lama under the rock that has a striation in it that looks like a rainbow.
Yeah.
So we buried it under there. So I did something. Who else did? Naval, you did something in there?
No, but I remember was John Lake who did the ceremony. Wasn't he the one who did it? John
Yeah.
Lake? Yeah.
Anybody else? Did you guys submit something to the time capsule? We put it in a PVC piping, which was, we thought, ideal, but turned out not to be so ideal because all the water got in and was like really, I had written about what is the college going to be like 20 years from now kind of a thing. And I still have that paper somewhere. What year was it? Cheryl Fucino privately chats. It was probably in the 80s. Maybe had to be, no, since I did it, would have been in the 90s. Somewhere in the 90s. Who else is like totally?
I remember.
Maria, you remember?
Was like 2000.
2001 or something?
Oh, I can't remember.
Maybe it was just a 10-year time capsule, not 20, because we're just there now. I have to find that piece of paper. It was all like waterlogged and stuff like that, but I know I kept it. Okay, well, anyway, so we'll probably do a time capsule and we'll probably bury a gold record with Paula Kiko and Joe Yoshida playing music. What was music like in the year 2021? And pictures of all of you in there. What did people look like? What their hair was like and their hairdos and stuff. And we'll all have to come back in 20 years. Oh no, that's not going to work. I won't be here. But those of you who are young enough to be coming back in 20 years, we could come back and open it all up and laugh together. Okay. We had, I think, just another reminder that there is a Padlet that was created for folks to share their thoughts, their reflections on having been in pandemic mode for a year. So it's in the agenda. So if you feel like you want to share some thoughts about what it's meant for you, what things you've come to cherish that you didn't really know you cared about, like being able to walk into a supermarket and buying toilet paper whenever you wanted to, and not having to strategize about, okay, who's got Clorox wipes this week, all those kinds of things that we had to think about. Those are the littlest things, but the big things are about people. There were, I'm looking at the agenda. There was a question in the agenda. Why is the fiscal year deadline so early this year? In 2019, the deadline was May 10. Since departments just received their full budget, this creates quite a time crunch. Is there a reason our campus has set the deadline so early? So we were able to get a response via email from Brian, who can't be here right now. And his response is, it's not a normal year. So if we were at May 10th last year or some other time, it's not the same now. In part because the allocations are so late, we still haven't received an official allocation from the CC system. So we're still working off of projections. The end of the year closure will require more than usual coordination between all the 7 campuses because of the last minute negotiations that happen, because what is essential in closing out the fiscal year is making sure that the G funds on all the campuses have been spent down to, cents, zero. So there is some negotiation that happens across the 7 campuses because the allocation from the state is at the level of the community colleges. And so at that level, we have to make sure that the G funds are zero. And that sometimes means some, not swapping, there's a word for it, I can't remember, but it'll come to me, where,
JV.
Who?
Is it JVing funds?
No, I don't think so. But anyway,
Reconciling.
yes, the team from Academic Affairs gets 2 points for the guess.
Horse trading.
Horse trading, trading different kinds of funding to make sure that everybody's G funds are zeroed out. And so this year, because the allocation of G funds still hasn't happened, it's going to require a lot more time to get all of that sorted out. So April 15 is the deadline for expenditures in not all funding now, you guys, but in the funding for your tuition and fees your CCSF if you have revenue generating accounts, and general funds. If you have grants, the grants are exempt from that timeline. So April 15 for things that are less than 2,500.
Louise?
Yes.
You know, I think that this question's coming up more frequently than not because there's such inconsistencies between all the community college campuses. Some campus business offices are closing their books June 1st, whereas our business office is April 15th. And we're in the same system, but we're having such significant disparities between business offices around the system that people are asking questions. Why is our business office so early on in the process and all the other businesses offices are not?
Well, not knowing anything about the other business offices, I can tell you that it is a question of resources, of staffing, and of complexity. So there are smaller campuses that have 1/4 of the fiscal activity that we have, and I don't know anybody else's timelines, but I know that the campuses do talk. On my campus it's this, and on my campus it's that. But I would suspect, and I don't know for a fact, that it's a staffing and complexity issue. And I did get a private message reminding me that the term that's used for that play between general funds and tuition and fees is called funding mix. Thank you for that. And if there's anybody else on the call who would like to explain why there are differences across campuses, I'm open to that conversation.
You know, I just know that there's other campuses that are not even closing out P-card purchases for the entire year. There are campuses that are closing their books on June 1st, but we're April 15th. And I think maybe perhaps this discussion needs to go to the vice president so that she can direct all the campuses maybe to be on the same page, so we're actually one system and one plane.
Duly noted. I will bring it to the chancellors. Any other questions that didn't make it to the agenda?
Louise.
Yes.
Just because I see Sarah and Drew on the front page, and I think I saw Catherine Primavera on like page 3. But if nobody minds, I wouldn't mind asking them if they could maybe just in 30 seconds, just because I know their experience has been that they don't teach online, but they've had to for the past year, and maybe just, you know, really quickly a challenge and how is it, like, what the hell? I can just see how, wait, art, I teach in class, but you've done it for the past year. So how has that experience been? Drew, you can go first.
Shoots. I think, Dina Point, what I would offer is maybe just the different ways in which emotion is or is not, or has or hasn't been expressed in synchronous online learning environment has been very difficult for me as an educator, and based on conversations I've had with students, also difficult for students. The difficulty of expressing emotion through the flatness of a screen. I think that's one of the challenges for sure.
Got it. Sarah, you wanna share just a little bit?
Okay, let me think. Well, having taught face-to-face for 27 years, and then I took Top to Go over the summer, which is sort of like Top Light. And then I decided just to jump off the cliff and do online asynchronous, which has been honestly the hardest thing about teaching since I started. Not like, woe is me, poor me. I just really wanted to get a sense of what faculty have been going through. So I just there's so much front end work, and I'm so used to like, well, I can just tell them in class. Well, that doesn't happen, you know? So, but it's been a really good experience. It's been difficult, but it gives me a little bit of what other people are going through. And just a shout out to every single person on this earth who has been forced to teach in some format that's different from what they've been used to. You know, I just give them all a lot of credit. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Catherine, you have anything, or I don't know, I just thought maybe, I know I can't imagine doing what you guys are doing. I wonder if she jumped off the call. Oh, I think she, oh, there she is.
So normally you see more Bitmoji, but it hasn't been showing up. So if you don't know, I teach English. Last fall I had 100 students. I had 5 sections. It was not a pretty sight. This semester I have only 4 sections. I also want to give a shout out to the top 2 girls. Helpers, I went to 3 incarnations. They've been so supportive. What helps me is finding the cute Bitmoji and the graphics and making the site pretty. I get kind of lost in that. But it's been challenging reading the papers and contacting and just following up. I always feel I'm losing students, and I want to make sure I reach out in a way that's not scary and try to pull them back. So.
Thank you. Okay, that's all. I just kind of wanted to hear kind of some stories of the faculty who've had to kind of help it out and jump in and get going. So thanks, everybody.
All right. Any other announcements? Anybody want to share? Any questions, things coming up we should know about? Okay, then. Have an excellent Kuhio Day. Short week this week, short week next week. We're thankful for the extra day. And then we've turned the corner on April, and then we're almost done. Food bank. What, Dale? Oh yeah, April 9 is the food bank, right? Go ahead, Dale.
So what's the incentives for the departments, and are we going to play that game again?
Oh, the food bank.
Yes.
Yes. The campaign to raise funds for I owe so many pizza parties from all these things that we've done. I think Jamie's keeping track. So we're not doing a penny war this time. Oh no, that was AUW. I'm sorry. That is so stuck in my mind. Joy, is Joy on? Joy Olders? She's our campus coordinator for the Hawaii Food Bank fundraising campaign. Joy, are you on? Didn't ask her to be here, so she may not be. No, not here. But we'll get word out. It's just about to begin. Thank you, Dale, for reminding us. And I don't know if we're going to be able to do it as well. You know, those guys, HR and business office with their 50-pound rice bags, they were like winners all the time. But we will get something out to the campus to make sure that there's a way for you to contribute.
Hi.
Hey, go.
It's Auntie Coco, and just to push again, we will be having our second Ohana Produce Plus drive on April 9th, and I have put it in earlier. My apologies, I didn't mean to hit send right away, but we're still looking for volunteers. The more the merrier. If we can do it in shifts, that's great. Last time we had everybody kind of stay and help as much as possible. We serviced 294 families. Okay, so I'm asking, I need help. I can't do this by myself. We were in the news, so everyone knows about us. And it's a really warm feeling that you get when you see everybody come and pick up those packages. So any help for an hour, that helps. So please sign up, and we'll put another announcement in the KCC announcements. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Auntie Coco. There's also a reminder about financial literacy and strategies webinar that's going to be hosted by the Commission on the Status of Women, the UH Commission on the Status of Women, and the registration link is in the chat. Thank you, Allison. Anything else? Okay. See you guys next week, Wednesday. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody. Unmute and say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Everyone.
Aloha.
Bye.